Yeah.
Salud. What do you think?
Welcome back to another episode of Finds Finds, where we explore wine, travel, and lifestyle. In this episode, we're going to get a twofer. So, as you know, I've been visiting the Yucatan multiple times, and when in Yucatan, what did I find? A black winemaker. We're everywhere. So I'd love to introduce you to Erlin, who has the creator of this honey wine here in the Yucatan. And he's actually been living here for about 8 years. And so he's quite the creative. And so I'm happy to sit down and have a conversation about winemaking, the Yucatan, and really what his goals are. So welcome to Finds Finds.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, Relly, for having me. Yeah, I've definitely we've been out. I've been researching the Yucatan for about 8 years, but we've been living out here for about 4. And in that time,
I said too many years.
Yeah,
I said 8 years. I'm giving them time. I feel like they are brilliant. So 4 years.
I think I've been researching about 8 to 10 years, figuring out what this place is. You know, because sometimes you want to know where you're gonna go travel to. But I researched it such a long time ago, and then when I decided I wanted to come out, I was like, whoa, this place is more than what I thought it was. Way more than what I thought it was.
What made you research the Yucatan?
So when I was in the United States, you know, I'm an artist, I'm a professor, I'm an educator, I do so many different things. I'm a cultivator. And when I was there in the States, there was a period of time being in the Bay and then being in Philadelphia where I was just really stressed. The stress of living there really got to me. And I said to myself, the moment that I have an opportunity to leave, I'm out. I'm gonna go. Just start setting up roots elsewhere. And you know, my partner is Mexican, so she and I were on the same page. And you know, the children, they were all on board too. You know, sometimes when you make a family decision like that, some people are like, I don't want to leave. I want to stay here. You know, creature comforts. But we all tapped in and we got out and was just like, yo, like this was more than what we thought it was going to be. The cost of living was amazing, and the communal dynamics were phenomenal. And so we decided it was a better trade-off to be here than to be in Philadelphia at the time.
So you know the questions you always get. I gotta ask the question because inquiring minds want to know: are there black people in the Yucatan? How many times do you hear that? First of all,
I hear that question a lot. Like
most common question.
God, that is a common question. Are there black people in Yucatan? There are actually. I'd say there's multiple subsets. There's like the black expats who come out here to like live from the U.S. like us, right? And then there's like Afro-Caribbeans and other Afro-Latinos. You have people from Dominican Republic, people from Colombia. You have people from Haiti, Panama, Jamaica. I've met everybody from all over the world. But the diaspora is really out here. And then there is also within the Mayan community, there are people of Afro-Mayan descendants. These are people who have free black ancestry that came in from Central America. Also, people who came here during times of Prohibition and people leaving the U.S. These are some of them are free black folks. Some are black folks that were enslaved against their will that came here. And there is just a line that is here connected to the Mayan people. Even sometimes when you walk on the street, you'll see certain people. You'll be like, those, just the look, the phenotype, the just sort of beauty, the aesthetic. You're like, okay, you got way more curves and you got way more. You know,
Exactly.
we're pretty particular. So
Right.
you see them and you're like, wow, this is one of us. So
Exactly.
yeah, there's multiple lines of, I guess, blackness or people of African ancestry that live out here. You can hear the kids having a good time.
Yes. We're here. They're at the pool. So, and that's the thing here that I've noticed since I've been visiting is that the community of people and families is more people that are family based that come together and the kids are able to create a community amongst themselves, and it's a better quality of life overall for your children as well as for your family. So one last question about the Yucatan and being a black expat here. Is how do you find yourself being here economically? Because people want to know that. Like, how can you afford to be here? Like, y'all rich?
We are rich. We are rich and moral and character and all that. But you know, economically, you have to be mindful. right? Like I'm lucky enough that I'm a professor. I have in my contract I negotiated a hybrid teaching dynamic, so I'm able to come and go, and it correlates with my classes and time that there. I also exhibit, I do shows with my art, and so I'm able to live a different sort of lifestyle, and we're able to basically live remote off of that partially, right? Full, like I'd say it's 2/3 of our life is remote right now. To do it fully, I'd say you definitely have to get a job that is based on the funds coming from the United States or the West, right? It is possible to do it here. I've known some people who, if you're really good, say you're bilingual, you speak Spanish and English, you can get a high earning job. And when you say high, that's like local standard is already not as high as what you get in the States, but relatively good. I'd say maybe up to 20,000 and 30,000. Some people do telemarketing here. That like when you say local jobs for people that are from here. I met a couple younger folk, and when I say younger, I'd say 18 to 25. They are managers at call centers here, and I've met some people who are they do like assistant manager at a hotel here. I've met a couple expats that also do call centers and stuff. So they manage the call centers for the local Mexicans, and those are American call centers that are based here. They do that, and if you're good at like I'd say like aspects of creating your own sort of like cultural events or Airbnb experiences, you could do that in a way. You could definitely have like a crawl, like take people out to do an event, or you can do. There's people who do that in many different places, but to really live out, you gotta be able to be economically savvy, but also be fully mindful that the cost of living isn't the same as the States, but you still need to be budgeting, and you need to be mindful, right? Like you have to be considerate of like what are your major costs, and can you come out here and buy a house? That would save a lot. But at the same time, what costs come with that? I actually know some people who came out here and they bought an apartment, and the woman was just telling me, said there's no HOA fees and there's no insurance with these apartments, so the person upstairs could be drilling through and there'd be a big old leak, which happened. It didn't happen to her apartment, but it happened here, and she was like, there was a massive leak and 2 neighbors' apartments got destroyed, and there was no sort of recourse. They're basically in arbitration and like.
That's terrible.
Yeah, and so they're trying to see who's liable for it, right? So it comes with a different sort of subset of issues. I would say the cost of living wise, it does hit you when you're like, man, this apartment would have literally cost me $3,000, $2,000. If it was the Bay or if it was Brooklyn, it would really cost you a lot. If this is Manhattan, get out of here. It's like those sort of things would really sit in your mind. And if you are getting a salary from the States, or you can negotiate to live remote for a year or a semester, I would say give it a shot. Reach out to your employer and talk to them and say, hey, look, I want to see if we could create a position for me where it's like partially remote, or I want to do a bit of research, and maybe you can spin it back into the company itself and say, hey man, I want to go check out this market for you, see what kind of movements happening down here, and potential financial development. I also say that that's a big thing, is that there's a lot of investment here in the Yucatan. There's a lot of real estate investment development. There's also like a lot of distribution that's happening here. This is becoming a massive economic hub. They developed a train system here that connects Merida to Cancun, to Campeche, and their goal is to connect it all over Mexico. It's also just a massive economic hub. And so the goal long term is to really be able to understand where you are and where you want to be, right? I think being in the States, we all have, the roots there. It's not, for me, some people, some expats, when they come here, like, forget the States, I don't care. I'm like, okay, hey, well, I want to be able to do both. You don't have to give up the U.S. citizenship. You can also have, your Mexican, cultural connection here, and then have your identity or your citizenship in the U.S. So you can build both, and it doesn't really have to be one or the other.
That's good. That's good. I love that you talked about being economically savvy and being creative and figuring out ways to make it happen here for you economically, so you can be here. I know that I was reading, and at my big age, I'm always exploring retirement ideas, and my understanding that a person can retire here comfortably with an income of about $2,500 a month. Now, you're not living at the top of the tier here for that, but you're not living at the bottom either, and you're definitely living way more comfortable than in the States with $2,500 a month in retirement. So if you know that when you retire, you're going to be looking at that kind of a retirement monthly for yourself, you may want to consider finding a different country to retreat to. It's very safe here. It's the second safest place in North America, I understand.
It is.
Yes, so that makes a huge difference. You can totally walk at night and not be harassed or feel worried. So with that being said, I want to move along because I'm very excited to share with you the second part of this story, and that is Erlin has gotten the idea to create his own wine. But this isn't just your Napa Valley grape wine. This is a honey wine, and it's also known as mead, correct? Yes, I just learned this terminology. And so, I shared with you all the flower wine. And so now I'm excited to share with you all the honey wine. And this is Erlin's wine. Talk to us about your wine.
So the name of the wine is Lágrimas de Oros, and that translates to tears of gold. The idea and the concept to create the wine really came from my drive originally to create rum. My family's been making rum in the Caribbean for like many generations.
Wait a minute, the Caribbean, where are you from?
I'm Haitian.
You're Haitian?
Yeah.
You know I knew that, right? I'm just telling the people. He's Haitian. So it's like the Jamaicans. How many jobs do you have,
I got a lot.
Okay, you're Haitian.
Yes, I'm Haitian.
All right. Okay, so that comes from your roots. You are...
I'm Haitian.
Yeah, and so keep talking about your wine.
So we literally, man, it's been 5 generations of rum making, alcohol making, and so when I got to the Yucatan, I was like, all right, it's my turn. I want to make some rum, like my grandfather, my great grandfather. I'm like thinking about it, and I got here and they're like, we don't have sugar cane, we don't have molasses, and I was like, what? I was like, I can't make rum. I even have a still at the house, everything. To distill everything. But you know what's crazy is like, I sat there and I was like, if I'm meant to make something, it'll come to me. And so I sat there and my sister, she was like, she said, I made mead in Boston, a lot with like a lot of honey and stuff. And I was like, okay. And I'd never made it before or nothing, but it really like sort of came to me in a dream. I was like, let me give it a shot. And so I had a dream I was just making this mead, and I was like, okay, I woke up and I said it to the mother of my kids. I was like, yo, my partner, I was like, yo, like, I think I'm gonna make mead. And she was like, okay, try it. And the first batch I made, like, it was so strong and so like, it was so intense, and I like started reading and processing it more, and I started learning about honey profiles and alcohols and sugars, and by the second batch, I developed it to the point where it was like, I balanced everything out, the flavors were good, and I was like, this is viable, it tastes really good, it tastes sweet, and so
it's very good.
On the 8th, I literally I made it more and more and more, and so it's been amazing, making it and getting it to this point. But I learned about the honey here and the quality of honey. The Yucatan's honey is a world-renowned honey. It is literally some of the most premium honey that you can get. Quality, flavor profile, it is world-renowned honey. But unfortunately, they don't sell it domestically. They don't sell it here because, it's crazy.
Oh, wow. Okay, so
it.
tell us about that.
The reason why they don't sell it here is because the market is dominated by northern Mexican honey. It's cheaper and it comes in there. And then there's like a small subset of that's of the market that's dominated by cheap Chinese honey that comes in. And so there is domestic honey being produced here, but it's not utilized in the bigger stores, right? And so that leaves the domestic honey to be sold in smaller stores and smaller batches. And so the honey here is really, really amazing quality. And so I started producing it, developing it, and really it's just for friends right now. I've been producing it locally amongst friends, and the dream, the vision would be, I'm developing a brand that would be able to be accessed and shipped to the United States and developed world-renowned name, because right now I'm very grateful to be able to contribute and work with local Mayan farmers and also connect something that is a marriage between both worlds, the Black Afro-Caribbean world, but also this beautiful Mexican marriage, kind of like my family dynamic, so it's also a legacy thing. Like, I'd love for my kids to be able to share this drink with their family and and with the community. And the name of it, Lágrimas de Oros, is about tear of gold, right? This idea of like you're crying tears, but tears of pleasure. These moments of joy. Also, it has another edge to it. Honey is an aphrodisiac. It gets you in the mood. It calms you down. Our tongue and our brain actually have receptors specifically towards honey. When we were out in nature in the caveman days, that was one of those things that it was really coveted. So when our bodies come in contact with honey, our brain has a specific taste receptor and nerve endings that respond. It like lights us up. And so when I make this drink and I'm able to share it, and like I feel like I'm connecting back to a legacy that is, this was the first wine, and this is the first type of wine that was in the world. So it's been a blessing, and it's been super fun to make it. And so my long-term goals is to definitely just keep making it and have
distilleries across the Yucatan. Yes,
that is, yeah, all over Mexico.
So this is a Erlin Finds question when we talk about wine. All my winos on my channel know this. I'm gonna go there. So do we know the alcohol volume for this, the percentage?
Yeah. So right here it says it on the not in this batch because we edited it out. But this is about 17% alcohol.
17%.
But you don't feel it. Doesn't feel
because when you drinking the grape fermented wine, right? It's like 14.9 to 16.9. It's kind of, that's where your sugar gets really, really heavy too, though, because it's the sugar, I think, that creates it. So when you're talking about a 17.9, and this is very smooth, and it's not super sweet syrupy. It doesn't remind me of a dessert wine. In fact, this is a very pleasant wine where when you think about pairing it with food, what kind of foods would you say this would pair well with?
I think this would go well with the goat cheese. I think lamb. Oh my God, like lamb shank. Oh my God, like like lamb roast. I would love that. Like rib chops. Like lamb chops would go great with this. Loin chops are phenomenal. Braised. You make a Mead honey wine reduction sauce on there with mint. I feel like it would go great with the cheese on lamb.
Yes.
I've paired it with like different red meats. It goes well with. I've made a dressing out of it with.
What? Yeah, like for your salad.
Yeah,
nice.
It tastes really. I mean,
so what's the recipe?
I do not have it. I'm an in the kitchen type person. So I take the. I will. I just honestly. I use it in caramelized onions as well. Like
so you cook with this wine as well as you drink. Well, of course, because you got an abundance, because you're always exploring how to improve it more.
I mean, I make a lot of it. So, but again, right now, it is only on a fringe-driven basis. If you want to get a couple bottles and you're coming out here to the Yucatan, we can get in touch. But honestly, we're in the beginning process right now of developing the wine and sharing it with the community.
So I was really excited because I was here a few months ago, and it was in one of your explorative moments with your wine, and you poured some for me. You're like, try it out. And this was when you were first, I think, kicking off. You didn't have the fancy bottle yet. And I tasted it. I was like, I think that was in your newer, because it felt like it was a little bit heavier than this one, right? But it was delicious. It did present more as a liqueur than just a sipping wine, right? Whereas I feel like this one, you've moved towards more of like a sipping wine. Like I can see us sitting around, as we will do, chilling and drinking on this wine. And so you have really matured in your wine making. It's really beautiful to see you graduate through the processes, to the point to where you even sharing with me about the nuances of these wines, where some that have the blackened cap.
Oh yeah. So
talk to me about that.
So that's another thing that I was I'm really still playing around with aspects of it. And so like with oak barrels and oak flavor profiles or oak corks, I just learned about charring, underneath charring under the corks and trapping in some of the flavor. And so as the wine it's interesting because this wine should be dry, but it's not as dry, right? Like it is, you're left with more salivation. That's like it's charred, and the interesting thing about it, it locks in a really beautiful oak profile. So when you open it, you have this burst of oak that gives you a really robust flavor profile. You have the sweets, that bit of light aromatic of smoke, and then you have the flowers that are fermented, or the fermentation of honey that's pollinating pulled from these pollinated flowers of the Yucatan.
Nice, nice, nice. So with that being said, if folks wanted to get in touch with you, wanted to follow you on any of your social media, what social media do you have?
Right now we're using WhatsApp, but I also have Instagram, Lágrimas de Oros. We'll connect and I'll share.
Yeah,
with you.
I'll share it here on the screen, but please share with them the name of your Instagram, please.
The Instagram is Lágrimas de Oros on Instagram, and I think it's Lágrimas de Oros -8, and we're on there. Connect with us. I will share it so you'll be able to have access to it. But if you're coming out here to Yucatan, definitely tap into me and you'll get a couple bottles. It is definitely accessible. Love to share with you. And the other side of it is I'm in the process now of developing it further. So I'm also open to, just points of views, perspective. If you've made wine, some feedback, you can come and try here. Let me know what you think. We're definitely in conversation and partnership with some folks here, bigger haciendas and people that are in restaurants have tasted it. And so, again, things move a little slower here, but it's important to, take the time and get all the paperwork things done. And so it's been beautiful making this process. And thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. It was great to have you. Before we leave, though, I just want to make sure, because I really want to promote you fully, and I want you to tell the folks about, for this bottle, USD, how much would you say this bottle would cost?
So this bottle right now, on a promotional level, is $25 right now.
Nice.
It's locked in. Honey is not like grapes. It's different. It is not as abundant. It takes longer to make it. This is the premier bottle. We definitely will be working on making a couple of tiers of reserve, and so maybe
so we gonna go up. That's where I like to be. Y'all know I like to go up.
Again, as we develop the flavor, as we develop the flavor profile, we're aging this wine, again, aged honey wine. I'm actually playing around with a couple of ideas right now. There's one idea that we developed with 14 karat gold leaf. I'm literally playing around with it. It's edible 14 karat.
You better bring it.
Different flavors too. And then there's tons of flowers out here and fruits out here that are not accessible in the United States. Like things that are just very, very rare. And so we just want to highlight our marriage and our connection to Mexico, because we are connected to this place. This is like a second reconnection and a second coming. Yes. It's also been interesting coming here and learning the history of just how black folk came here to Mexico, because this is another place that we've been coming, right? And so I think the Yucatan is welcoming, and it's been such a beautiful place to be. The people here are very considerate and very kind. Yes. And making this wine is our way of showing love and showing homage to that marriage and that connection to the community.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being a part of Finds. I just want to invite you all to reach out and try a bit of this honey wine by my good